So hi, welcome to this podcast. I'm Shane.
I'm Glory.
And we're here with...
And I'm Janine from VUKOVI.
There's some questions there about the upcoming album. My God Has Got a Gun. So congrats on that, by the way. How do you feel about the response to the announcement so far?
Yeah, it's been great, to be honest. It's so hard to know what reality is when you've spent so much time creating a record and putting a lot of energy into that, and then you're like, oh shit, we actually need to show the world this as well.
Yeah.
So it's so hard to know what to expect.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you just can't really control these things, like what people like and what connects with people. So yeah, so far it's been great. I think it's been quite an unpredictable, rebrand. But that's our thing.
Hell yeah.
Wonderful.
Love it. The album is awesome. It's incredible.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much. Like, you have no idea how much. I know it's all like, it sounds like, oh, I need validation. It's not. Everyone needs a bit of validation, but I think when you sit on it for so long and you completely torture yourself over it, and just like, is anyone gonna get this? Is this even good?
Yeah.
That's when I talk about, like, I feel like we're kind of in a weird reality right now. We're just unsure of what the reality is. So, but I'm glad to hear you've heard it.
Hell yeah. Yeah, there's a track in the middle. It starts with Misty. The second half of the title track name is slipping my mind, but that song in particular really caught me.
Misty Ecstasy?
Yes.
Yeah. That song is so tongue-in-cheek, and it's cheeky, and it's funny, it's fun, and liberating, and I just hope that listener will hear something like that and be like, this is actually really put me in quite a fun, flirty mood.
Hell yeah.
Solid.
So obviously we're going to get into everything, but I'm curious, like you mentioned, you've been sitting on this a long time. So can you give like bookends when the process for the record kind of started and when you guys finished it up, had masters in hand?
God. So we started writing this album, I would say, like maybe the middle of last year.
Okay.
So I had just started therapy. That I got 12 sessions of therapy, and it was something that I'd never really. I'd done some before, but I just wasn't ready to really be honest about opening up and really facing a lot of shit. So this album, to me, we sort of started that during that period of time for me. So that was why I started painting after every session, and just sort of, sometimes you just don't have the words. So that for me was very cathartic, and we then recorded it this May in America with Machine, and then the masters were done. God, what date is it? Like maybe August. Damn. So it really wasn't a lot of time between recording it and the masters. But yeah, it's just being asked that, like thinking back to the process and the journey, and we're here now. It's really been a big step outside our comfort zone, this album. Like, we're just, it's just something that we created during a particular time in our lives, and it's a big reflection of where we were mentally at the time, and we're so proud of it.
Hell yeah.
So yeah, I've had a few podcasts now, and so now we're starting to actually talk about the record, and it's scary. It's just so, it just feels very real now.
Yeah, I mean, we're about a month and a half out at the time of recording. It's December 10th, and it comes out January 24th, which is very exciting. Are you feeling excitement, anxiety? Like, what are you feeling now, like about 6 weeks out?
Honestly, to be totally honest, we are very anxious just now. We are quite anxious people. We're Scottish, we're passionate, we're pessimistic. we're so hard on ourselves. The expectations that we put on ourselves, the perfectionism that we create in our heads, like it doesn't get easier for us, and it's trying to manage that, like, because I want to enjoy this process as well. I want to not resent it. I want to look back and be like, I had the time of my life. Like when we recorded this album, we had the time of our lives. Like we really locked ourselves away and thrived together. But yeah, it's. I think it's. See, the thing is, I notice a pattern with every album we put out. I go through the same thing, Hamish, as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm trying to be like, right, this is the way that you cope when you come up to an album release. Like you think it's shit. You think no one is going to get it. You feel very vulnerable and a bit exposed. And I suppose there's a little bit of shame in that. But I'm really proud of myself for bearing a bit of my soul and my process of healing. I think this album is it's very up and down. There's things that I say in this album that I maybe don't feel like now, but at the time that I think it's a representation of someone that's going through therapy and facing their shadows, and you don't know whether you're coming or going. Like as I said, the shift of reality, and you're very up and down. So that's scary to me because it's very raw and it's very honest. So putting something like that out to the world to judge, like you can still have a very thick skin. It is gonna play in your mind, but we're just on a current, we're on a wave, and we're just sort of riding it and just seeing what the fuck happens.
Absolutely. I think that's the best way to go. Just like see what happens, roll with the punches. You can't really, you can only plan so much for like a release.
100%.
Yeah.
Like there's half the songs that we thought were going to do well. It was other ones that we didn't think were going to do well, and we're like, fuck, that wasn't it. We didn't expect that.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's kind of in the hands of the gods now. So I just want to enjoy the process and just see, the reaction and if the effect that it has on people, and hopefully that there'll be people that will connect with it.
Absolutely. Hell yeah.
Damn right. And is there any meaning behind the album title or cover art?
So I think the cover is very, again, it's very primal. It was painted during a time where I sometimes didn't really have the words to express how I felt at the time. Going to very, very intense therapy and talking about a lot of things I didn't want to talk about. And that was a product of my brain at the time. And I love when people ask about it, because I'm like, well, what do you see? Like I'm always interested to see what another person sees. And the front. And the My God Has Got a Gun, I think there's a play between the sort of church and state. You could look into that politically. But also I think with any mental illness or trauma that you're carrying around, that almost is your God, and that's the thing that controls you. So it's trying to live your life not under this control, and usually it's yourself. And I guess that it's it's a bit of an analogy. I feel like you're being held up all the time by this thing that's just always on your shoulders.
Yeah, absolutely. Sure. Hell yeah. So can you tell us a little bit about your writing process for the album?
It's a mixture between me doing top lines and like a structure, and then I'll send over to Hamish, and then he'll just absolutely fuck it up, just go get right into it, and we'll rip it apart, and we'll just sort of bring it back and forward. Or sometimes Hamish will send me a riff and an idea, and then I'll turn it into something. And yeah, that process was great, because we do like a lot of similar things, but we also have quite different tastes at the same time. So we seem to know each other quite well enough, our strengths at each other's strengths. yeah, so it was yes, it was really like the whole process was really enjoyable. Like it's hard,
Yeah.
like, and it's very draining, and like when you are creating in a very weird mindset. Um, but that's sort of, I guess, the beauty in art. It comes from quite a raw place.
Yeah. Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. Typically, like, unfortunately, the more like fucked up mentally the person is when the art is better. Like, I love when an artist is happy when they make
Absolutely.
a record, but like, especially in the scene that we're in, this alternative metal heavy scene, when they're in a dark place is when the best music typically comes out.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because even from someone from our perspective, like, if we people tell us like this is the best record you've ever created, or this is blah blah blah, and like we still, it's so hard to change your perspective to an outsider. Like, we're so attached to this record, and like you do lose a bit of perspective. You're just like, I don't even know what this is anymore.
I don't even know
like,
who I am.
you know what? That is literally such a prominent question during this whole process for me. There's a lot of times that I felt like, I don't know if either of you have been to any therapy, but it's like you just think like, I thought I knew who I was, and I'm like, I have no idea who I am. And I guess this record it's trying to figure out that, who am I? What's my morals? What do I believe in? What do I deserve? What don't I deserve? Like, yeah, I'm drinking Prosecco.
Oh,
Hell
wonderful.
yeah, love it.
Wonderful. So, what song off the album took longest to write, and then which one is your personal favorite?
I think the last song, Bladed, took the longest to write. Because there's a lot of parts to that song. It's quite a long song, but we put a wee bit extra time into that one because we did want to. We kept thinking back to live, like, how would we play this live? What would get a crowd absolutely pumped up?
Yeah.
So a lot of the songs in this album were like, right, what would get a crowd going? So that was definitely quite a prominent thought process during the writing of it. So yeah, Bladed is one of my favourites as well. Like, I love Snow, but that song to me is so fucking depressing. I don't really like listening to it too much.
Yeah.
But I think that's why it's scary. Like, that song's coming out at midnight tonight, and like, that's such a curveball single for us, and it is unbelievably raw and vulnerable, and I think that's been quite scary for us. We can't really hide behind the big riffs and the beats. Like, we're like, this is just us. It's raw, and it's very vulnerable, and I've got no idea how folk are going to take it.
Yeah. Oh,
that's exciting.
I'm sure it's gonna go great.
I am curious behind the thought process behind a song like that being a single.
Well, do you know, it was actually Sharp Tone that were like, this needs to be a single. Like, they liked that from the start. We sent a demo over of that, and that seemed to be quite a standout one. And I was really surprised because it's not our typical VUKOVI song, but yeah, it's been dead hard to pick singles. Like, there's you could pick so many, like, there's different directions you could go in with this album. There's a lot of different genres and vibes. Like, you could, it's also hard, like, to pick the right singles and the build up to release.
Absolutely.
Sure.
So how'd the track list for the album come about? Did you guys write the opener to the opener, close the big closer, just shuffle around and see what fits? What was that process like?
So we did the intro, which was a bit of a joke at first. Like, I had a voice recording. We were writing in my kitchen, and I was like, right, we need to do like an intro or something. And I just started singing like, "This is my life and my trauma," and then we're like, let's just do that. And
Fuck it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's like it's not completely taking ourselves serious, but we're like, I feel like when you're with your pals and you're having a laugh, you just start singing really dark shit
Yeah.
because it's the only way you can go. But
Yeah.
uh, yeah, and when we did that, and then he started fucking kicking in with his rail, it's like this is so silly. Like
Yeah.
I'm thinking about how that's going to sound live is just silly.
Yeah.
And yeah, we just sort of shuffled about very hard. Like, because it's like, do you put all the singles at the start?
Yeah.
Whereas we didn't really do that. Like, we sort of thought about it as one piece, and I don't know, maybe that's quite a dated, out and out of date way of, you know, picking an order of an album, but we're a wee bit of a sucker for a record as a whole, as one piece. So yeah.
Yeah, and like having the singles spread throughout creates like an experience for a listener that's listened to all the speakers, all of the singles. My God, where there's like points in the record that they're familiar with. That's one thing when we review records that we pinpoint is like the familiar points on an album. Are helpful.
Almost like little pillars, or almost like little like floaties when you're kind of just like in a pool of water. God, I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. I hope that makes sense.
No, I know it's like a boy. So like you're like, oh right, I know this, I've heard this.
Exactly. Then when the album's front loaded with all the singles, it's like, well, now I'm going into uncharted territory, uncharted water. I don't know what else is out there.
Yeah.
Exactly.
A wee bit lost. It's quite overwhelming if it's just everything new in an order. So I like that reasoning for that.
Hell yeah.
I'm glad that made sense.
Yeah.
Awesome. Hell yeah. So would you be able to tell us where your headspace is at while you're creating the record?
It's funny because like for doing something like therapy is, I really underestimated how hard that would be, but also I was very positive as well at the time. Like I did really enjoy the process, and I really did, for the first time and ever, really believed in myself, and I really fought a lot of those voices in me that were like, you know, the self-sabotage, and I have OCD, and I just felt like I was strong. I felt strong, and I felt powerful, and I think that's why I do speak about some very raw things, and some very honest things, and I think that was me sort of exercising a lot of these inner thoughts and just sort of like make peace with this shit. And yeah, I think this honestly feels like therapy right now, like going back to like the process and like your mindset and all that. But yeah, I think for us as well, like I think being an artist in this day and age, I feel like it's very hard to be like, we just want to focus on writing a record and recording it. We want to take a few months out. We don't want to be posting things every day, coming up with content all the time. It completely saturates your head.
Yeah.
And we did make the conscious decision to like sort of drop off for a few months and just really focus on making this the best that we could make it. So, and I think there's a lot of artists that don't do that, and that's fine. Like if they can do both, like absolute respect. But that was just something we consciously decided to do.
Yeah.
Because we when we write and we create, we put everything in. We just put everything into it. Like we are very determined and focused in that sense, and it's trying to keep the blinkers on and just like you do need to take a lot of advice and outside advice, but you also do need to be able to set boundaries, and try not and get lost in the sauce and lose who you are. And what you're creating, and so it is a constant battle, like, but
I respect that. I have an artist that I manage that had to do the same thing that you guys did, that was like, if you want me to write this record, I have to get off social media for the next few months and focus solely on building this album and the world around this record, because it's literally impossible to do both things at the same time.
I think so. Like that's just that's my limits, and that's how we work.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think I just, when I see other artists that can do both, I was like, fuck me, fair play. Like that is, we burn out very easily and very fast. And we're very hard on ourselves sometimes with that. But then I think we just want to try be as genuine as possible and be ourselves and be honest about where our heads are at, our expectations, also trying to live our lives and show that you can do both. You don't need to kill yourself for the art at the same time. And I know like the process was hard, and it was times I was like, I'm killing myself here. But like it's we've became a bit better at trying to have that work-life balance, and but it is that, again, that is scary, because you think, oh, are we going to become irrelevant, or like do people forget who you are? Like you it's the classic worry, like your classic worries, and I know I'm not the only artist that will think this. It's just unfortunately common.
Absolutely. For sure. So this question should be super, super quick. Off the top of your head, I want you to describe this album for new listeners in 3 words, no more, no less.
I'm going to say heavy in both ways, like lyrically heavy and heavy guitars. Like I think when the heavy, it is very heavy. I think it's empowering and chaotic.
Ooh,
those are good.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Wonderful.
It's a bit all over the place, but I think there's a place for everything.
Love it.
Damn right. Yeah. And are you able to touch on any particularly challenging or standout moments during the creation of the album, positive or negative?
I remember like the first night we got to Texas. Never been to America before.
Oh, okay.
We pulled up to Dripping Springs, where Machine's shop was. It was really late at night. We were all very tired. We were all very anxious, because we were like, holy shit, we're in America recording an album with someone we've never worked with before. What the fuck are we doing?
Yeah.
And we turned up, and Machine was like, I was in a really strange mood, because I was tired, and like I felt like he wasn't looking at me when he was talking, and he was like talking to Martin and Hamish. And I just completely jumped the gun, and I thought I went. Also, there was a huge thunderstorm, and apparently there hadn't been thunder there in ages. So I was like, there's something stirring in the air. And I went back to like our digs, and I kept thinking about it. I was like, oh my God, like he doesn't respect me, or doesn't want to talk to me, or like does he not take me serious? And like the next morning I went up and I got a coffee with him in the morning, and I was like, listen, I'm shiting myself, like I'm so anxious, like this is how, and he was like, so am I. Like you're fucking terrified. But we just had a total joke, cleared the air, and then we're like best pals since.
That's so good.
That was such a lesson to me, to be like, stop jumping the gun and making conclusions in your own head. Like sometimes communication is the best thing. It's like, listen, I'm really shite myself, and then he's like, so am I. Like
twin. Yeah.
Exactly. So it was quite a good moment for me. I was like, I'm so glad that I said something.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Hell yeah.
That would have just been unnecessary tension. I'm glad you did speak up. Yeah.
And then it just totally manifests in your head, and I come up with my own narrative of what the situation is.
Exactly. And then what you thought it was, it does actually turn into, because then you're putting off bad vibes, and he's like, what the fuck's going on?
Yes. Yeah. Like you're just like, I'm not going to look at him then, and I'm not going to speak to him.
Exactly. It just fucks everything up. Yeah. Exactly. Communication. Yeah.
Hell yeah. So for this question, I want you to picture you're on tour, you're at a gas station for a rest stop. What is your snack of choice?
Oh, I mean, I love crisps. I loved, like when I was in America, I loved stopping at a service station and just like discovering a new packet of crisps.
Oh yeah.
And sometimes I made some very bad choices. But sometimes, like, you know, you get like this absolute gold. You're like, I'm obsessed. Like,
Yeah.
I'm so glad I've just found these crisps, and so it is usually that.
Yeah, solid. In
Yeah,
the sea of bad choices of like chips and shit, there's always like a couple like fucking gold nuggets that you find that you're like, damn it. But then the thing is you can never find them again. It's always in a fucking gas station like fucking Wisconsin. When the fuck am I gonna be in Wisconsin again, you know?
absolutely. Yeah,
Uh,
there was these. I found these, like, they were like broken pretzels.
ooh.
They were like a spicy, tangy flavor.
Oh, I
And
know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah.
what the fuck are those? I was
Yeah.
like, these are like crack.
Yeah. It's
Like,
like the discard like I think it was like buffalo. Yeah.
yes,
Yeah, no.
I, unbelievable.
They're incredible.
Like,
Yeah.
I was like, these are the best crisps I've ever had.
I completely no, I completely
Oh,
I
yeah.
back that.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
that shit rocks.
I don't even know if you must be able to get them here somewhere. But honestly, like, they are top tier crisps.
Hell yeah. Yeah. I'm a big chip guy. So anytime that like Lay's puts out a new flavor, I'm trying it. 90% of the time, it goes straight to the garbage. It's a waste of $4 or $5 and it goes right to the garbage. But that 10% is worth the gamble.
I was going to say, this is what life's about.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly.
It's all about
That's how I
gambling.
gamble.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't bet my money on anything. I just give my money to a corporation, hope what they make is good.
Exactly. Yeah. Goddamn. And on the topic of food, if the band was a dish, what dish would the band be and why?
I'm just going to say something really silly because I don't know what else to say. But, like, you know how, like, when you order fajitas and then the waiter brings them into the restaurant and there's all this noise and everyone turns around? I feel like that's us in any sort of social situation. Like, we're not deliberately trying to draw attention to ourselves, but for some reason there's this air of, like, clumsiness / chaos. Just, we're all just trying to fumble our way through life, and so but when we get on stage, we take shit serious, and we have a good time, and like, yeah. So I'm gonna say fajitas because of the attention seeking sizzling noise that comes out the kitchen.
Perfect.
Yeah,
Love
damn
it.
right. I love it.
And for the last couple questions, going to shift completely away from music and go straight to death row.
Boom.
So if you're on death row, what would your last meal be with a drink?
I actually love pepperoni pizza. Like, I am obsessed with pepperoni pizza. There's a pizza shop next to my house called Errol's, and it's like it's just like an old flat that's been renovated into this tiny little pizza restaurant, but it's a metal themed restaurant, and
That's
it's
so
got
badass.
an amazing playlist. You bring your own bottle. Like, it's amazing, and their pizzas are the best pizza I've ever had in my life, and it's on my doorstep. So I wouldn't mind an Errol's pizza and a glass of Primitivo Red.
Nice.
I mean, I feel like if I knew I was gonna die, I probably wouldn't be that hungry. But I mean, if it's there, it's there. I might change my mind.
Exactly. Yeah. Not gonna pass it up if it's already there.
I was going to say, I might come to terms that I'm gonna die, and then I'll be like, oh, fuck it, I'll just eat my pizza then.
Why the hell not? Not to be wasteful, you know? Come on. Yeah. And if you could live in one fictional world for a week, where would you live?
It would be between Harry Potter world or Star Wars.
What house are you for Harry Potter?
Oh, do you know what? I was Gryffindor, but I did the test about 5 years ago when I was on the Pottermore fan club. Now I'm like, I feel like I've done a lot of work on myself, and I'm intrigued to know if my house changed, because I think I've changed a wee bit.
Okay.
Another test, really.
Yeah, you gotta do it again. You gotta do it again. See what's up.
Get a re-up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Solid.
And I've not asking the last question. Every single person that we've spoken to have said that it is the most important question. What's your favorite color?
Oh shit, my favourite colour. You know what? It's emerald green.
Ooh.
Nice.
I've always been drawn to that colour my whole life.
I love that color. Solid.
It's just so lush and rich and
Love it.
inviting.
All right. So as I said, that's all the questions you have today. Is there anything that you would like to plug?
Just I hope you enjoy the album, and I just hope that it connects with people, and I'm so excited to play them live.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, like I'm so appreciative of the support that we've had all throughout our whole career, and That is one thing that makes me feel safe, is the support that we have and the fan base. That they're like rocks to us, to be honest. Like, they're ride or dies.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just so appreciative of that as well.
Yeah.
Love it.
Wonderful.
All right. Well, thank you for listening. It's been Janine from VUKOVI, and we have been the Good Noise Podcast.